I'm Amber Stinson, Communications Specialist at Vigo County Public Library, and I'm here with the Reverend Dr. Cowden from Northside Community United Methodist Church. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to talk about leadership with you.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you.
Yeah. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you became so involved in the Terre Haute community?
Well, I went to high school and part of college here many years ago and moved away for about 35 years and came back to Terre Haute about 4 years ago and just started pastoring churches and just really had a heart for the community and felt like that that's kind of what we're supposed to be about and just a kind of a natural extension of our faith and our ministry is to be blessing the community and caring for our neighbors and loving one another, and just started looking for open doors and opportunities where we could serve and try to make a positive difference in the community.
That's great. I feel like that's what happens to a lot of people in Terre Haute is they come back. So the main topic of our discussion today is going to be about Todd Bolsinger's book, Canoeing the Mountains, Christian Leadership in Uncharted Territory. Can you give us a brief synopsis of what that book is about?
Yes. So the book is really about adaptive leadership and developing people's leadership capacity. And it's really based on the story of Lewis and Clark and the Corps of Discovery when they left St. Louis and were charged by Thomas Jefferson to explore the Louisiana Purchase and discover the Northwest Passage, the water route to the Pacific Ocean. And it was something that all the explorers thought was there and all the map makers thought was there, and everybody assumed that the water route existed. And 15 months into their journey, they discovered that everything they had been told was absolutely wrong. They discovered there was no water route, and they basically had to throw everything out the window and start all over because they were river explorers, and they had to learn to become mountain climbers. And they had to learn a whole new set of skills in order to accomplish their mission. And so the book kind of builds off the Lewis and Clark story and saying that this is really the key metaphor for today's world. And as we think about being leaders in our own contexts and our own time and our own situations, that the very adjustments they had to make, the changes they had to make, are the exact kind of things that we are having to do in today's world in order to provide good, healthy leadership for our own organizations.
I see. Can you tell us how reading Canoeing the Mountains impacted your leadership style?
Yes, I think it really kind of opened up a whole new way of thinking for me in terms of having to discover and learn new things that I hadn't been taught before, and just how there's so much of an emphasis today on best practices and learning what works. And there's certainly a place for that, but when you're going off the map, as Lewis and Clark did, you're in a time and a place where there are no best practices. And there's really nothing in the past that has prepared you for where you're going in the future. And so I think it really stimulated me to realize that I and we need to think outside the box. We need to consider things we haven't thought of before and try to find new ways to try to move ourselves forward.
And you talked about it a little bit, about changing the way you were taught. So can you tell us a little bit about what your leadership learning journey was like?
Yeah, I think part of the journey was just realizing that we really learn best in groups of people. I think in America we still have this Lone Ranger mentality, and the one individual comes in to save the day. And a lot of us are raised or have been raised in educational systems where it used to be very individual. And over the years, a lot of that has changed. But it's kind of like the old proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so a lot of the learning really is done with groups and other leaders, and figuring out what they're doing and hearing what other people are seeing, and realizing I can't see everything by myself, and none of us can. And so we really benefit from the perspective of other people in learning communities that we participate in.
So it seems like your learning journey really made a transformation after reading this book. So can you tell us about another opportunity that you've recently seized that practices transformation?
Well, one opportunity coming up in October is the seminar that we're hosting, and the author of the book, Todd Bolsinger, is coming to Terre Haute to do a one-day training seminar for any leaders who are interested. And it's he's lives and works in Los Angeles, and so it's a unique opportunity for people here to interact with the actual author of the book and hear what his learnings have been and what his journey has been like, and how we can all learn to be adaptive leaders together.
Yeah. So a topic in the book that really rattled me was this idea of adapt or die, because they didn't beat around the bush, and it was a call to action. They wanted you to know that if you didn't change, your organization might not survive or thrive. So what advice would you give to community leaders about exploration and transformation in the Wabash Valley?
I think one of the things we have to realize is that we can't just rely on our education from the past and the things that we already know. If we are going to be good, effective leaders, we have to be learning all the time, and we have to stay on the growing edge. We have to be learning new things. A lot of people talk about how you can't lead your people farther than where you've gone yourself. And so a lot of people just kind of keep repeating the successes of the past, and I think we don't always realize that even our successes can actually limit us, because they will only take us so far. And in order to really move into the future, we have to create new successes that we haven't had before. And so we have to learn to think differently, and we have to experiment and adventure and try things we never thought we'd have to try before. And that's really what's going to propel us into a stronger future.
That's really great advice for the community. So is there anything else that you would like to share that we haven't discussed today? It can be a story, a question, a call to action.
I think one of the parts of the book that really stood out to me was he has a chapter on sabotage, and he talks about how any good leader who's leading creative, experimental, adaptive change can expect to be sabotaged by people who feel threatened by new directions or new ideas. And a lot of times we get scared and we get fearful, and so we kind of pull back. And the book is just kind of a reminder that often when we get sabotaged by other people, it's actually a sign that we're on the right track and we're moving in the right direction, and we might need to learn some things and maybe make some adjustments, but to not just kind of give up because some sabotage or some resistance is coming. But it's also the value of having a core of discovery like Lewis and Clark had, and having a team to encourage us to keep persisting through some of the resistance until we can get to a breakthrough that's really going to propel us forward.
Of course. Well, if you're interested in learning more about leadership, you can attend the Reverend Dr. Clark Cowden's discussion at the main library on Thursday, September 26th at 6:30 p.m. in our Lifelong Learning Center. Author Todd Bolsinger will also be in Terre Haute at Mount Pleasant United Methodist Church on Friday, October 18th, discussing his book and what effective leadership looks like in an ever-changing world. There is a fee associated with that event, so make sure you look into registering prior to attending. If you're interested in reading Canoeing the Mountains, you can check a copy out on Hoopla and either read or listen to the book. If you'd like to hold a physical copy, you can put one on hold at the main library or the West Branch Library. I'd also like to thank you for coming in today and for bringing this book to our attention. It's a really great discussion to have, so thank you.
Great, thank you very much.